Scratch Bank is a fairly new feature inside of Serato, and until now has only been available with certain controllers such as the Rane One, but Serato are starting to roll it out to their beginner level controllers. The recently released Rane One allows you to unlock Scratch Bank inside of Serato Lite, so we're likely to see the Scratch Bank feature in more popular controllers. But if you have a controller that unlocks Scratch Bank, you may not be using it to its full potential. It can open a world of possibilities. It's not just for scratch samples, it can be used with a whole host of different DJ tools and even full tracks. So Scratch Bank essentially allows you to trigger a pad and automatically play a certain scratch sample or tool or loop. If you go inside of your Serato sample, up here is the Scratch Bank icon. If I hit the icon, you get brought up with this menu here. You'll see that on screen I have 4 red icons at the top with my scratch samples in, which correlate to the pads here. And all it allows me to do is, if I trigger my first pad, it brings up the sample straight away, immediately. Here I go to my second scratch sample, my third scratch sample, and my fourth. So as you can see there, it automatically allows you to save a bank of samples and trigger them immediately from your controller. So this is great if we're jamming and we just want a kind of a practice session, or we're live environment. We want different scratch samples. You can trigger them immediately and just start jamming. Great for practicing, but also in a live environment. If you want to show off your skills, that's great for showing off your skills and just being creative within a DJ mix. So let's just have a look at some of the settings inside of the Scratch Bank. It's a simple drag and drop system, so you just literally drag in your sample or drag in whatever you want over to one of these Scratch Banks and it'll just load in there. And then you have a loop function, so if I have the loop on, it'll just continuously loop your sample when you've loaded it in. So if I hit my first sample, when it gets to the end, it'll just loop over and over again. The next icon we come to is the key lock icon. Now this is ideal for the next part of the video when we're going to talk about introducing loops and introducing music elements, but you probably want that activated because when you load in a sample, if your fader is high up or high low, it might sound a bit strange. So I generally like to have my key lock on. So the next section is important. This is where your sample is going to start from when you trigger it. So here you can see it says start or cue. If I go to my second sample here, if I have it from the start, you see at the beginning of, if I trigger it here, you see at the beginning where there's a little bit of dead space, it will trigger from that dead space. So if you see there's a little bit of a delay when I trigger. That's because it's triggering it from the very start of the sample. But the sample doesn't start for maybe half a second, which might become a hindrance to you in a live performance or when you're practicing. So you can trigger it from any cue point. So if I go to Q1, it will now it will now trigger it from the first cue point, and you can have 8 cue points set up. You can also trigger it by loop, which we'll come to in a second. Then the next icon over here is where you can just eject the sample. If you want to get rid of a sample for a new one, you can press eject, and then we just have the waveform of the sample that you have loaded in. So that is Scratch Bank for what it says, scratch samples. But we can take this a step further and we can start adding in musical elements and loops.
Are you either a DJ just getting started or a DJ looking to level up your skills? Well, did you know we've got online DJ courses and tons of tutorials to help you do just that. We cover everything from Serato to Recordbox to Denon, as well as product specific and genre specific courses, as well as skill specific such as scratching and transitions. Take out the guesswork with our step-by-step learning platform and iOS app, so you can access your content anytime, any place. Just check out wearecrossfader.co.uk. Let's get back to the video.
So on the bottom here, I have a acapella loop, I have a track with an intro, I've got 2 acapellas loaded up as well. Down here, if you go to the trigger point here, you can see I have loop 1 activated. So if I just trigger my blue cue point,
white girls go crazy, black girls go crazy.
It automatically triggers a loop, which is amazing.
Black girls go crazy, white girls go crazy.
So if we're in a mix or practicing and we've got an instrumental going maybe, or an outro of a track, we can activate our loop instantly and be in the mix. 1, 2, 3, 4.
White girls go crazy, black girls go crazy, white girls go crazy, black girls go crazy.
And it will automatically trigger your loop. And you can then start getting creative with all of the features. So you can already start to see the possibilities by using ScratchBank when being creative. So we can also extend this out by adding in full tracks in there. So if we've got a instrumental playing, and let's activate our loop. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to sync them together. I'm going to load up my next track, which is a full track with an intro. So without touching or searching for the track, I've already got a track loaded in here. And then we can take it one step further. I've got an acapella loaded as well on this yellow cue button.
White girls go crazy, black girls go crazy, white girls go crazy, black girls go crazy. Smoking on the weed, I got a chalice. Bangers in the building, now they bang. Calm down, brother, don't panic. Smoking on the weed, I got a chalice. Bangers in the building, now they bang.
And then I've got another acapella here. So you can start to see the possibilities there. I used 2 acapellas and then I loaded a full track in, and you can really get creative on the spot. It's just all about planning, preparation, and using the ScratchBank to its entirety. It's not just about loading in scratch samples and having a scratch. It can be used in a variety of ways. So get creative using ScratchBank. It is an awesome feature that I now cannot live without. I use it in loads of my DJ sets. And like I say, it's becoming more and more popular with Pioneer introducing it into the Rev 1 controller. Let us know how you get on. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in another video.